Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of May. Happy birthday season, Taurus. I am using the tarot of the Arabian, 1001 Arabian Nights for you, which is interesting because when I sat down to work out which deck I was using or not, there wasn't a single one on the table that spoke to me at all, and I had to go rummaging around in my cupboard to go and find the one that did want to be used, and it was this one. And I was like, that's very strange, I've never used this on the channel before. So it's making its debut for you, Taurus, which already in and of itself is a little bit interesting because we can see themes of change and more importantly kind of acceptance to change. What is will not do anymore. It's got to be something a little bit new and potentially feeling like something a little bit exotic, which is very exciting for me. About to do your reading for you, see what comes up. So let's get on with this. If the reading resonates and you would like to go a little bit deeper, I do go over to Vimeo to do an extended. You can access that in the link in the description box, and we'll spend some time really pulling apart what comes up here. Obviously, if you support me on Patreon, you get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost. But let's have a look. Tell me what is going on with Taurus at the moment. 3 cards for Taurus, please. 3 cards for Taurus. Oh, there's the first one, and it is the Empress right there. I like this, Taurus. I like it already. That is a Taurian card. Current energy for Taurus, thank you. We have the King of Wands. That's a Leo card, but very much action oriented. And what's coming towards Taurus, please, in May? Let's get his card straight. What's coming towards Taurus in May? Jumpers, please. There we go. That's the one. We have the 2 of Wands, right? So there are decisions coming up for you. There are decisions that are needing to be made because you are coming to a crossroads. Whether you perceive it or whether you don't, and honestly, the way that these cards are showing up here, I feel like this is something that you are intuiting. We have the 10 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Now, that can, indicate your material security. It can indicate that kind of stability that we have in here, but it does also speak to things that have been built, exactly as I felt just from picking this deck of cards up here, that there's a sense of completion with what you have invested in up until this point, right? And rather than the usual kind of Taurian urge to kind of keep everything as it is, because we've come to love these things, we've become very attached to these things, whether it is your job or say, for example, a course of study where you've been somewhere for a period of time. Work, that's highly indicated here too. Or whether it is just what you know at this point, right? It's coming to this sense of completion. Let me get some clarifiers and we'll see what else is going on here with you. Some more of this in here. Just to give these a little waft. Okay, right. Give them a shuffle. What I like is that this is going from major arcana into minor, because it feels like some internal shift has begun to occur, and now it's about how you make your external circumstances reflect the shifts and the changes that have gone on within. That's big. That's manifestation stuff right there. But it's also growth, Taurus. We love a bit of growth, right? Tell me about the Empress. Why is the Empress here? Wonderful. We have the 8 of Swords in reverse, and we have the Chariot. Oh my word. Hold on to your hats, Taurus. Look at that Wheel of Fortune sitting underneath there as well. Tell me about this King of Wands, please. What do I need to know about the King of Wands? Ooh. more, please. Right, so we've got the moon in reverse, which I like, and we have the Knight of Wands as well. This is the restlessness that I felt coming for you for a while, Taurus. There's been that kind of... It's been building for a while, so I'm not at all surprised that it's here. It feels quite exciting. Right, tell me about this Two of Wands, please. Tell me about the Two of Wands. We've got the Nine of Pentacles. That one fell out first. I'm not taking all three of those because that's more than I want. I just want one more. That Two of Wands, please. Thank you. We have the Star. And there is the King of Wands at the bottom of the deck again. So, with the World card sat directly behind it. Right. So, more indication, if any were really needed, that you are coming to the end of quite a big cycle here. You know, there might be a smaller cycle that is completing at the same time. But it's converging on the end of a bigger cycle too. It could have been in some ways actually the catalyst for this all kind of closing out. But I'm not feeling any of the resistance to an ending that I would usually expect for fixed Earth. There's none of it here. It's almost like everything's kind of just falling into place a little bit. So, you know, we start with this Empress card and you know how I love you all to be represented by the Empress, because I really do think that this is the... I'm not a great fan of the Hierophant, broadly speaking. I mean, there are some wonderful attributes of the Hierophant, not least the ability to teach and all these kind of wonderful stuff. But there's a rigidity to the Hierophant, and I think when Taurus is in growth mode, when Taurus is in that in expansion, in a state of expansion, it's the Empress that we want to see. The Hierophant is that kind of creaking edifice of something that's been built up, over thousands of years, I guess, where often the meaning of the rituals that are conducted have been forgotten, right? So now it's just, we do this because this is what we do. And you know, well, why do we do this? Well, you can probably come up with some highfalutin reasons why we do this, but actually the substance is missing. It always comes down to, we're doing this because this is what we do. Whereas the Empress is a far more fluid energy. It's an energy of growth and empowerment. For a start, the Empress is often depicted as pregnant because she is gestating something new, right, which is getting ready to come into the world. But that feminine, chaotic feminine energy is what allows new opportunities, right? It's all about growth and expansion for you. And as you are embodying this currently, I can see why where you are and what you have been doing don't really work for you in the same way that they have done up until this point, right? So it's like something's shifted, and it might have been just a little click of something, or this might have been something that's been building up for a much longer period. But either way, what we have underneath here just makes my heart sing, Taurus. It really does, because we have got the Eight of Swords in reverse. Now, far too often, at times, this has been true for you. Right? Very narrow thinking, very linear thinking about things, and almost to the point of having trapped yourself at points, right? Now, what you've done is you've taken that and you're removing the restrictions, right? You're pulling out the swords that have created a mental cage for you and going, well, why? Maybe you are questioning now, right? Just as I was saying there with the Hierophant, like, we do this because this is what we do. We've always done this. Like, maybe now you're asking why, right? Rather than just accepting that this is what it is, and this is what it always has been, and this hopefully is what it always will be, because then that is comfortable and familiar. You're going, well, why is it like that? Why do I think like that? Why do I do things like that? Why do I don't know. Why do I work where I work? Why do I do the job that I do? Do I even like the job that I do? Why do I socialise with the people that I do? Do I do it because I like them, or do I do it because because they're the least worst? I was talking to somebody about school a few days ago, and socialisation and whatnot. And how my realisation was that you literally just bandy up with the least worst of what is available. And it's not until you leave school often that you realise that that's what you've done. But anyway, an aside. This is about pushing the bars of the cage much further out, if not entirely dismantling that mental cage that you've made yourself altogether. Because it doesn't suit you to think one way now. It doesn't. There's too many things have altered within you, certainly over the last 2 years. But it feels like it's kind of coming to a culmination through the last couple of months. And maybe it's because the world is starting to open up just a little bit. And you know what? Saying to yourself, you know what? I've always liked what I know what I like, but actually I want something else. This restless feel of a search for new opportunities, possibly, but a search for new experiences. I mean, we'll get into that in a second. And my God, if Taurus isn't really like putting their hoof down now about this with the Chariot card, right? This is a card of determination. It's a card for me of knowing yourself, right? Because it's everything to do with the self, and it covers, things like self-discipline and autonomy and knowing of thyself, all that kind of thing, right? It's a card of knowing what is dark about you and what is light about you, and knowing that both of those things need to exist for you to be a balanced human being, right? So we're not clutching at the light and going, I am good, I am good, I am good. It's kind of like, well, yeah, I am broadly good, but I know that I am good because I have these dark bits in me and I do not succumb to them, right? I allow them to just be there. I witness them. I am compassionate and forgiving towards them, and then I continue on my road, right? You feel to me like you know yourself better, Taurus, now than at any other point in your life. And I think the things that are starting to come to the surface are really starting to surprise you, because it does feel expansive in a way that you are perhaps not entirely accustomed to, haven't been entirely what the fuck haven't been entirely accustomed to up until this point. Thank you. Fuck, that took some getting out. Right. So this card is also about determination, right? And, so what's that fine line between determination and stubbornness, right? We know you can be stubborn, but this feels like there's an aspect of it that is you being determined, and you need that for yourself. But it does also make me think that you might be ruffling feathers a little bit, Taurus, because the determination is set outwardly. Right? A little bit of internal determination for yourself, I'm not going to let this slide. I'm not going to go back into my comfort zone. I'm actually wanting to go out there. But it feels like some of it needs to be forward facing, because there are other people who might have a bit of an issue about what it is that you are choosing to do right now. Just as an aside, it's a thing. Anyway, I love this. I love this so much, Taurus. Right. So then we move into your current energy, and what we've got here is the King of Wands. This is the king of getting stuff done. It's all of the kings are active. It's all about the masculine expression of doing a thing, rather than, with the queens are receiving a thing, or, emanating a thing, something like that. The queens are passive, the kings are active. And this King of Wands, being an active card, indicating an active suit like fire, right? What we've got here is somebody who is absolutely pouring the ground, ready to go and experience something new, right? This is not a flighty energy, although fire can be, there and gone. This, when you've got the King of Wands, it's... he has the benefit of the experience of having worked his way up to where he is now, right? So he picks his battles for sure. But say where the Knight of Wands has kind of fleeting attention with things, the polar opposite to you, generally speaking, Taurus, fixed earth, mutable fire. do things very, very differently. The king is kind of like the expression of a reconciliation between those two things, right? So the king has duties, he has responsibilities, he has wisdom and experience, all these kind of things. But there is the fire, there is the drive, there is the push, there is the passion for things. You know, sometimes, well, not sometimes, always, the King of Wands is an entrepreneur, and maybe it is that you're starting to think about setting something up for yourself, branching out for yourself in a particular way. Maybe, more importantly, you've already set something up and you're looking to expand, right? We're pushing this expansion idea that is coming through very, very strongly for you, and now you have the energy to do it. More than that, with this Moon card in reverse and this Knight of Wands here, it's not just that you have the energy to do it, it's that you know exactly what needs to be done, right? The Moon card is the card of Cancer, and it covers all those things that are hidden. Coming, you know, at tarot the way that I do, I often see this as the subconscious, right? So it's the bits of you that you don't generally see unless you go looking for them. You know, the world looks very different by the light of the moon compared to the light of the sun, right? And we can see all sorts of things that aren't there, and we can miss things that are there, because there's a lot going on in the darkness away from the, you know, the moon's reflected light, right? But it's coming up in the reverse for you, and I think this is important because I think this is indicative of the shift that has gone on in you recently. I did a reading for a Taurus recently, and she said she had like real issues with confidence when she first set up what she was doing. She said, so I turned it around, and instead of thinking why me, I thought why not me, and I was like, yes, that is exactly that. And I'm just using that story anecdotally because it's absolutely what this represents here, right? It's about identifying the ways in which you have held yourself stuck, possibly, but certainly within your comfort zone. Why, more importantly, you have done it, right? Everybody likes a bit of a comfort zone sometimes, but pushing out of it makes a bigger comfort zone, and then you can push out of it again, a bigger comfort zone. Tripping over my words a lot with you today. A bigger comfort zone too. Oh, we're in Mercury retrograde shadow period. That'll be what it is. Or are we already in there? Oh, I don't know. I think we're in the shadow period anyway. That would explain why I'm tripping over my words. The shift that has gone on in here, right? Now you see things that you did not see before. I think that it has awakened in you a certain desire for adventure that you have not experienced before. And by adventure, I'm kind of using that as shorthand for this pushing out here. So it may not be that you're about to sling a backpack on your back and go, I don't know, you know, just backpacking around Cambodia or something like that, right? It's not necessarily that kind of thing. It is, in fact, any kind of expansion, anything that takes you away from where you are right now. Not even necessarily physically. You know, we could be talking about you by picking something entirely new up, you know, to learn. That's actually quite a Taurian trait anyway. But there's no fear of failure here, Taurus. That's what I'm feeling. And that's important. Because fear of failure often stops us starting things, right? Or if we start things, then we get really, really shitty with ourselves that we're not better at them straight away, right? But it's not that you're not terrified of failing. It's that you're actually rather indifferent to failure at this point. Because why would you, right? And when the emphasis is on the experiential, well, you can't fail to have experiences unless you literally sit in your living room, wrap yourself in a blanket, and don't move. You know, the experiences are always happening. There's an openness to new experiences, and what isn't being laid across the top of it is, what if I fail? It's just not there, because it's all about the experiences. Do you see what I mean? This Knight of Wands is quite interesting because it is speaking to, it feels like an exploitation of an opportunity that is arising here, right? And I don't mean that in a pejorative sense, the exploitation. I mean, it's literally something there and you can use it, right? So has something just sort of appeared in timely fashion in front of you? Have you spotted an opportunity that nobody else has seen? If you're talking this from a, you know, business sense, an expansion sense, or do you just want to get out there, Taurus? Do you just want to get out there and see what you don't know? Because that is fucking huge. If that is what you are doing, you're kind of like, oh, we're just going to go see. Wow. Cast your mind back to where you were 2 years ago. Like, that would not happen. And yet here it is. And you're just wearing it really, really lightly. This is insanely cool. Like, I love it when you do things like this, Taurus. Like, you're blowing the mold up. That's what you're doing, right? And if, you know, the way that you have cast yourself just doesn't fit anymore. So we're blowing up the mold. Let's do something else instead. As a fire sign, I approve of this. As a spiritual practitioner, I approve of this, full stop, because you're not staying still now, Taurus. Now, remember how I said right at the beginning there, decisions were needing to be made. Now, there are major arcana cards that talk about decisions, but when those show up, you know, they're kind of like big, fucking in your life, universal energies, and you're like, oh, holy shit, I need to do a thing. The universe is like, you know, kicking me in the ass or whatever. This is minor arcana. So this is about decisions that you make in the day-to-day. And honestly, I feel like these are more of a reflection of the shifts and changes that have gone on within you. It's right, like, how do I do this? What do I do? You know, in some ways it's kind of a planning energy of sorts, but not quite, you know. It's a beautiful card, this. There are two figures stood on a rocky outcrop and they're looking at a city that's just sprawling out in front of them. And this is your vantage point here, Taurus. Once you strip away that cage, like you did, a mental cage that keeps you where you are, the whole world is basically spread out in front of you. Have a look at this card. Check that. Let's see. Camera can see it properly. No, it's better there. There, look at that. It's absolutely stunning. I love it. Right? There's a real world is your oyster feel here. And so I say about the Two of Wands that it is a crossroads energy, right? So you arrive at this crossroads, or you arrive at the top of a rocky outcrop, and you say, right, well, I could go this way. I could go this way. I could probably go straight down, actually, looking at that too. What are the consequences of going in any of these directions? You know, where do I want to end up? The funny thing is, I'm not sure any of you have, So it's roughly split, actually almost 50-50. Some of you have absolutely no idea where you're going. You're following a pull and you cannot explain it. And the fact that you cannot explain it is something that you cannot explain either. Right? This is more comfort zone thing. But you're going to go where you are being pulled. For the other half of you, you know exactly where you're going. And the only thing that you have to work out is how you get there. Which is interesting. It's very interesting. So what we have underneath here is the Nine of Pentacles and we have the Star first. So for some of you, it will be about making the decision that best utilizes the resources that you have in order to go towards that thing that you want, right? That plan that you have, your hopes, your dreams, that star that's twinkling at you in the sky and saying, I am everything that you ever wanted. This is the wish card, right? And this is like, well, how do I get to it, right? It's a very Taurian thing, like, what are the practicalities of this? How do I go about it? For the other half of you who don't know where you're going, this becomes a little bit more abstract, right? It's that sense of connection towards something. And at this point in time, the connection is towards expansion, moving out, experiencing as much as you can, right? For a lot of you, kind of striking out on your own. Like we've talked before about how Taurus work very well in a group, right? How they're very community minded. You're essentially herd creatures, right? And part of what has been necessary for you over the last 2 years was learning that occasionally it was all right to put your head above the parapet. Occasionally it's okay for you to move away from the herd as and when necessary, because you have tended to prefer the the protection of the crowd, right? Get in there amongst all of it. My watch is telling me to get up and move. Shh, I'm busy. But part of this journey of finding yourself, right, and being able to tap into strength that you have always owned, always been in there, but sometimes misused, which you have. I'm talking about the times where you turn your mind inside out with self-flagellation and being like you're not doing well enough, you're not working hard enough, you've got to do more, you've got to apply yourself. If somebody's being awkward, then it's probably something you've done. Like I'm talking about those things, right? It's releasing that way of doing things. I mean, like, what does power mean? What does strength mean? Like, how do I embody it? How do I express it in a healthy way? Like the Empress. And once I come to the conclusions of, what the expression of those things are as an emotionally mature, emotionally evolved creature who is possessed of great strength and great determination, how do I start bringing that into my material existence, right? How do I start finding experiences that can push me a little bit more, make me expand a little bit more? I remember somebody in the comments once, it was a good year or so ago, probably more actually now, said that they thought that Taurus was addicted to self-improvement. And there's something in that. But I think it was before now, it was always kind of desperate, because at the end of the day, for most of you, you were trying to make yourself be liked as much as you liked everybody else. You wanted to feel a part of something like everybody else. So you wanted to be that glue in the middle that held everything together. You wanted to be treated in the way that other people treated you. Yeah? So the self-improvement was a kind of byproduct of just being desperate for everybody to like you even more, or just be around you. Just treat you the way that you treated them, right? And I feel like there's a detachment from that's happened. And it's been slow, but it's happened, where that is no longer your driving force. So the urge for self-improvement is there. But rather than sitting down and being like, I must improve myself, right? I must think very hard about what I can do to fix my behaviour. I think that you're just being now, right? It's looser, it's freer. It's not as rigid. I like it very much. So whichever camp it is that you fall into, and it's very rare that I feel this like exactly 50-50 split, it doesn't really matter, because whether you don't know where you're going or whether you do know where you're going, like the path that's right in front of you is exactly for you, right? And what you are to learn on this path is exactly for you. And so for some of you, it'll be about, there's my goal, there's my star, where's my route to it, right? And really getting your head down and pushing towards that. For others of you, it is that looser kind of, just going to see what is. Just going to go and see what it is that I don't know. Go and see what it is that I haven't experienced and didn't even know that I hadn't experienced. Go and experience those things that will bring value to my life and I don't even know it yet. Oh, I'm excited about this, Taurus. This is very exciting indeed. Okay. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and hopefully try and learn to talk a little bit better than I'm managing at the moment. God, by the time Mercury actually reverses, retrogrades. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. I'll be completely incoherent. I should think that'd be nice. It's in Gemini as well, isn't it? That's makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to Vimeo now. If you would like to join me over there, you are more than welcome. Like I said, the link is down in the description box. If you are a patron, it's over there on Patreon for you already. Yeah, but if not, no problem at all. Just know that I'm really, really excited for you. This feels like May is a preparation month, right? And we like a bit of preparation. Got another sign ascendant, so you know I understand that. It's a preparation month, and I feel like June things start to change dramatically by your hand, which I also like too. Right, the groundwork, but take a moment to be just sit with how fucking awesome you are right now, Taurus. Like, look how far you've come. I'm so proud of you. Right, I'll stop waffling. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.